when I was in the second grade, we were asked to line up in order of whose family had been here the longest and whose family had been here the shortest period of time. And as it turned out, I was the answer to both of those questions. My dad's family had been here since the Mayflower had come, although the people that we were related to died in the first winter. But a child of theirs came 20 years later, so we were able to establish the lineage. Edward Fuller, I think, was the name of the guy that died and came with his wife. And my mom and her parents were Polish Jews who had survived the Holocaust. They had not left Warsaw during the war because my grandfather had a large family and he didn't want to leave them behind. And in the event, they were all killed except for my mom and her parents and an aunt. And they lived in Warsaw for a couple of years after the war, and then they came to, they went to Stockholm for a year, then they went to Mexico City for a year, and then they made it to the United States, the one place in the world where they thought they could rebuild their shattered lives. My mom was the only one who could speak any English when they got here. She enrolled herself in the New York City public schools, and she graduated from Hunter College High School and actually ended up going to Wellesley College, not far from here. My dad's family were public servants. My dad, I grew up in all places in Washington, D.C. My dad worked on Capitol Hill and in the State Department and had a number of other sort of really interesting jobs. And from him, I learned that public service was a noble thing to pursue. And from my mother and from her parents, I learned how important these American values are to people that are living in oppression and in circumstances worse than oppression all over the world. And I have traveled the world, America very broadly, and my own state, which is full of immigrants. And I have yet to find one with a stronger accent than my grandparents had. But I have also never met anybody in the country more patriotic than my grandparents were. And they got a lot from America. They got everything from America. And they had a sheer unadulterated joy of being Americans. And they gave a lot to America too, and that's the way this is all supposed to work. Back then, I led the fight on the public option because I believed that that the Affordable Care Act would be incomplete without it. And in fact, that's turned out to be true because there are millions and millions of Americans who make too much money to be eligible for Medicaid, but not enough money to comfortably afford private insurance. And I believe they should have this alternative. And my plan is called Medicare X. Bernie says about the single payer, I wrote the damn bill. When it comes to Medicare, the public option, I wrote the damn bill. There are a lot of other people running on the public option in this race. None of them has written the legislation. Mine's called Medicare X. I was proud to have Tim Kaine from Virginia as my original co-sponsor on the bill. He ran on this bill in Virginia. The virtues of the bill are that first of all, it starts in rural areas because I wanted to say to rural communities, I'm listening to you, and while we may not be in alignment politically all the time, I know that you have a particular problem because there are many places in America with one or less insured, and those are rural, tend to be rural. Starts there, over 3 years it becomes available to everybody else. We need to run on a set of ideas, an agenda that can unify the American people. It isn't one that divides the American people. And I feel that particularly strongly, I think, because I am the only candidate in this race who has won 2 national elections in a purple state. Nobody else has done that. Nobody else has won a race in a state that's a third Republican, a third independent, and a third Democratic. And I believe we need to run that way in order not just to galvanize the Democratic base, although we have to do that, but to win back some of the 9 million people that voted for Barack Obama twice and Donald Trump once. Sort of the bottom line of the whole thing is that we got a president in America, who doesn't care about your kids and grandkids, and I think we should have a president who thinks about our kids and grandkids every single day. That is how I evaluate the work that we're doing as a country, and that's why I decided to run for president.